All right, click the links, join the channel, become a valued member. Check me out on Subscribestar, the various other links for other video hosting platforms. So this is a weird phenomenon that you've seen lately, where you have these global media shills just openly defending billion-dollar companies. Disney. I could understand if it's some indie filmmaker. Like a Kevin Smith making Clerks back in the 90s, and, you know, hey, give it a shot, the guy's an indie. You're defending Disney or these other huge corporations for a very mediocre show. Why would you do that? Because we know, you Phantom Menace Comicsgate 2022, you know we're not talking about movies or comics. We're talking about propaganda. Like, the mask is off. You know this is propaganda. It's even people who are kind of the left of the political bell curve, they're in the comment sections on the Mary Sue and all these kind of like lefter wing sites. They're talking about, you know, even Bleeding Cool is talking about that Teen Titans clone comic, this Arkham Asylum or something. And even people in the Bleeding Cool comments were going like, yeah, this is, you know, are they going to be fighting the patriarchy? Let me guess, they're going to be fighting climate change. Maybe they're going to be fighting istophobicism. Hey, maybe there'll be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy who's got a cross around his neck and he's intolerant. You know, because everyone isn't, even besides the culture war. Everyone has seen this story. The story is asked. The question is asked and answered when you see two different skin tones on the cover of anything. If it's a story from the mainstream, two different skin tones tells you the cover. If you have fair skin and light eyes, well, there's your antagonist. And the inverse is also true. Oh, how you couldn't possibly know that? You must be projecting your own istophobicism. No, I mean, there's objective data to back that up. You can go look through the past 1,000 comic books or the past 1,000 movies that have come out where there's a narrative and see if the correlation, does it match the representation of the country, or is there a massive overrepresentation? Probably by an order of magnitude. Okay, just because you have facts and evidence on your side. Like, literally, the comic I went over yesterday, the Teen Titans things, like the first issue of the latest one was, oh, hey, look, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid's an idiot. Or the High Republic, hey, look, there's a blonde-haired, green-eyed kid who's a fashionable one, who's very reminiscent of, you know, he's supposed to look like a certain somebody from history. The whole thing is insanely nonsense. It's like you see this all the freaking time. Oh, hey, the first 30 seconds of She-Hulk. I don't know the guy's hair color, eye color, but he's a fair-skinned child of Europe, and he's the bad guy. He's patronizing and mildly belittling. That was in the first 5 minutes of the show. It's like, oh, okay, so it is every single time. Okay, you have us there. Yeah, and this is where you followed up with a but and an explanation, but there's no explanation. You can't explain your way out of this. It's like, this is culture war aside, you know, hating one group of people because of the color of their skin, hating European people, it's not acceptable any more than you hate any other group of people. Why the left wing has allowed that without any pushback, because a lot of left winger, you know, they're scared of the crowd turning on them, but either you have the principles that this stuff is bad, and the left wing has slowly shifted their principles from equality to equity, equal outcome. They're doing it in schools now too. It's kind of like they're taking affirmative action a step further, and they're doing that now. And it's like, that's eventually, if you're on the left, you're gonna have to stand up to this kind of stuff. And you're like, hey, this is just a comic book movie. What are you talking about? It's not a comic book movie. They're telling you who they are, and they're telling you how they feel about you. Everything is downstream. Everything is information, and everything's a little bit of propaganda. And this is just a little more, it's this stochastic terrorism to make you hate one group of people who look like you and I, for nothing. It's like, we're awesome. Like, we're really the kindest, most altruistic people, but it's an easy person to hate because everyone else will defend themselves, but this other group of people won't. I mean, I do these kind of videos a little bit, and, you know, other people do little videos here and there, but, like, you can't let this go on and just try to be nice. Like, oh, I'm sure this show has an audience out there. It's like, yeah, but every show is a one group of person is always the antagonist. I mean, just from a storytelling perspective, there's no willing suspension of disbelief when you see that every single time. And the people who make these movies and these TV shows are so far, well, they're deep up their ass. They're in this echo chamber where either they don't see it because they don't have time to watch all the other shows, read these comics, or they simply don't care. So even Forbes comes out, and they go on the presupposition that this isn't organic, that it's being review bombed. Except when they show the reviews, you see it has 2,310 stars and 1,901 stars. So, I mean, isn't it logical to say that it's also being love bombed? In fact, there's more 10-star reviews than there are 1-star reviews. I mean, didn't you just kind of, didn't you undercut your argument right here? Just right here. Here's the data itself. It seems like your argument is completely asinine. If it got review bombed because it has 1-star reviews and you think they're not organic, they're not sincere, but the 10-star reviews are sincere. No, you're a partisan shill. This isn't, well, I know it's pop culture media, but anyone is like, don't lie to yourself. We know you're lying to us. There's no appearance of you being fair, impartial, and unbiased. Anyone who's doing a movie review, you want to know that the person is going into it and giving an honest representation. No, these are not honest. These are not honest reviews. None of this is... Disney Star Wars didn't deserve a 93%, where The Empire Strikes Back got a 96%. That's the ramblings of a crazy person. If you say that those your Rotten Tomatoes reviews are accurate, these are from the review sites themselves, not from the users, and then you're saying that you're babbling nonsense. Nothing you say from then on out has to be paid attention to. It's like you don't know what a woman is, but you know that a woman can have a penis. Well, then nothing you say after that needs to be listened to because you're a crazy person, or you're so blinded by cultural Marxism that you're in that 1984 scene where they hold up 4 fingers. It's like, yeah, whatever you tell me to believe, I will believe. I can hold these 2 conflicting ideas in my head because the threat of force always hangs over. But the threat of force here is social media ostracization, pressure, being doxxed, being fired. If you didn't like Black Panther, oh, you'd probably get fired if you didn't like Black Panther and gave a review and pointed out all the nonsense in it. Yeah, you'd probably be fired for that. If you didn't give it I don't know what the scores were, like over 95. That's insane. I mean, everyone is waking up to this culture of fear, this Maoist, this Bolshevik cloud that's hanging over everyone's head. It's like all it takes is one public figure to stand up and really start talking about what's going on, and then it's, the dam will break, and it'll take us where it'll take us. But it's kind of this humiliation ritual where they get more and more bizarre with the stuff they put out there, and they expect you, the emperor's new clothes type of thing, and they expect you to be on board with it. And it's more and more insulting, like an objectively bad show where even the editing is bad, and you have to say it's stunning and brave because the first 30 seconds of the show, the first scene, has the 2 women talking down to a man. But, I mean, a fair-skinned man. It would never be a black man or Asian or Latino, or, heaven forbid, a female, like a condescending, arrogant POC female. That would never happen. Like, you're not going to get any of that. Anyway, so the first comment, though he did misspell that, is, okay, hear me out on this one. It's just bad. I barely made it through the first episode. You can watch it online. I hope to gosh you don't have Disney. Why would you pay that group of, what did Lucas call them, white slavers? It's just a bunch of, people who take flights to islands, those kind of people who applaud for Weinstein. They're just the worst people on earth, and they think they can lecture us on some kind of patriarchy. You guys, you applauded Weinstein for like 10 years or 20 years or something. There's pictures of you guys like offering up little white girls to Weinstein, those Oprah images where it's like, here, take this sacrifice to Moloch. Yeah, but that's the same Hollywood that's lecturing us on the patriarchy or some globalist piece of garbage. It's disheartening to see the complete and total subversion and corruption of the left wing. The 90s, they weren't like this. They knew that the media machine was just this soulless corporate entity who would say or do anything to push their values. And the left-wing values, believe it or not, in the 90s were actually closer to left-wing values. They knew there was this corporate media, military, government machine that were working together. And then somewhere they got subverted. Maybe it was, when was Bush, 2000, 2008? Maybe it was during that time period they kind of got subverted, where they got on the side of the media, and then after they got on the side of the media, they kind of never left. And then they got Obama, and then they saw like the media was kissing his butt, and so they kind of became slowly subverted and corrupted. It's like, oh, Occupy Wall Street. Yeah. It's weird that all those left-wing groups are now funded by Soros, Rothschild, Schwab, or BlackRock, Larry Fink at BlackRock, or Vanguard, or the WEF. It's like complete total subversion. Even if you're on the left, you got to look at that and wonder, oh, this is what it looks like when you replace a piece of more ACLU, SPLC. Well, the ADL was always corrupt, but those three alphabet groups, the civil liberties group, and you're like, oh, so I'm looking at the case law for the past since the 70s. You guys stood up for some important stuff in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and slowly it just changed. It's like it's openly a left-wing group that doesn't advocate for civil liberties anymore, but it's still called the American Civil Liberties. Like, I know this isn't just movies and comics. Like, you got to know that by now. I mean, I know you do. I know you absolutely do. Anyway, to see left-wing people simp for billion-dollar Disney, does anyone just hold a mirror up to them and say, what are you doing? Why are you simping for billion-dollar Disney? Oh, because they're pushing a globalist narrative. We're also pushing a globalist narrative because we're the worst people on Earth. Anyway, check me out, subscribe, if you can. I'll see you guys all next episode.